You may not like it, but this is what the peak male body looks like, ladies and gentlemen. Unfortunately, you're not going to get to play as this because Blizzard have decided not to push through the McCree HP buff. Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to the channel. So, the PTR patch is now on the live service. Now, this is in line with Blizzard's new rapid patch deployment system, which is beautiful. And by the way, I think is awesome in terms of shaping the meta and just making changes to the game to make it more interesting. It's good stuff. However, what they have done here is you no longer get the 250 HP McCree. He's still 200 HP, and there is no longer the nerf to McCree's fire rate. That is right, ladies and gentlemen. He will continue to fire at the rate he's fired at for a pretty long time now. He is still machine gun McCree, but what he does get is firing Deadeye no longer locks the player's aim. So the only buff here to McCree is Deadeye. So clearly, the devs have decided that making McCree 250 HP was too much, was just literally making him too hard to kill. And also, it looks like what they were doing is giving him 250 HP. The cost of that was reducing his fire rate. But it seems that for whatever reason, they have now decided that no, we want him to keep his fire rate. And the only way we can do that, which makes it balanced, is to remove the extra 50 HP. Now, this is especially funny to me because it makes a lot of content redundant. We've all been talking about this McCree meta and all of that good stuff. Well, it's not going to happen. McCree is just going to be, well, the same he was before with a slightly better Deadeye, which is a little bit disappointing. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that one plays out. Okay, next up, we've got Hanzo. Now, the Hanzo nerf has made its way through to live. This is Storm Arrow's damage reduced from 70 to 60. This means that from the entire, is it quiver? I don't know. Somebody told me what this was called, actually. Like, when you use, it's not a magazine of arrows, but basically he gets 5 arrows, right? He fires 5 arrows. It means that each arrow, 10 less damage. So he loses 50 damage over the duration of the ability. So 5 arrows he fires, he loses 50 damage. So this meant that against the buffed McCree, which I did show you guys in the video yesterday, that, yeah, he had to hit all of them. But of course, McCree isn't buffed anymore with HP. So yeah, he still has to hit quite a few to kill him. But yeah, this is just a nerf to Hanzo's barrier spam damage, let's call it. It's also a nerf to Hanzo's sort of get out of jail card as well, which I think is good. This is the direction Hanzo nerf should go. Definitely looking at Storm Arrow. So I think Hanzo might be okay now. So maybe Blizzard don't have to look at him again for a while, let's hope. Okay, moving on to Reaper. Yeah, Reaper's nerf has made it through to the live service. This is his passive ability. Healing amount has been reduced from 40 to 30% of damage dealt. Now, I've covered this a bunch in a load of videos. This is basically equates to about 25% less health steal, effectively. This makes Reaper, well, he's basically back to the state he used to be before he got a load of buffs to his passive ability, to the lifesteal. So yeah, Reaper isn't as tanky as he was before. He should be easier to kill. I think everybody likes this change because Reaper is a terror when it comes to the lower ranks in the game. Anything below platinum, Reaper is very difficult to kill. Often takes a concerted sort of team effort to everybody focus and fire him down, and it doesn't happen at that rank. I mean, that doesn't happen at any rank, but at least when you go higher up through the ranks, if you do have a diva on your team, a lot of the time the diva will look to sort of negate the damage that the Reaper would do, for example, or there are other ways of playing around the Reaper. But yeah, this is a good nerf. Thank you, Blizzard. Orisa, this is the other nerf, which is good. Now, all of the Orisa nerfs have gone through. So Fusion Driver, Primary Fire, damage reduced. But, oh no, sorry, this isn't as bad as it was before. This is 11 to 10. This was 11 to 9 damage, I do believe, ladies and gentlemen. So they're actually not nerfing the damage as much as they did on the PTR, which is interesting. Fortify, cooldown reduced from 8 to 10 seconds. This is exactly in line with what was on the PTR. And Halt, the snare duration, reduced from 1 to 0.65 seconds. So yeah, these are good changes to Orisa. Interesting that they've bumped up her damage a little bit, but I think Orisa's main power level is directly tied to the Halt ability. So things they do to nerf that will reduce her effectiveness in the game. It still is a really good ability. Don't get me wrong, guys. It's got a really big radius of where it affects people and pulls them in. At least now, you won't be snared for as long. So when it detonates and pulls you towards it, you're only going to be snared for 0.65 seconds as opposed to a second, which means that you'll be able to move almost half a second faster than you could before, which means you should be able to get out of damage a bit quicker. But it still allows for the combo of Orisa pulling people and then, well, everybody spamming damage into where the pull ends up pulling you, because you'll still get pulled towards it. Yes, I like this. Also, Fortify as well. You know, it's a ridiculous ability. She can just tank tons of damage with it. So this gives us more opportunity to play around Fortify. So when she uses it, you now know she's got to wait an extra 2 seconds than she did before, which might not sound like a lot on paper, but honestly, guys, it actually is. That reduces her survivability by quite a bit. Okay, moving on. This is Sigma. Now, Sigma's gravitic flux has been destroyed. Sigma's accretion has been destroyed. But guess what? They haven't put the ranged nerf for Sigma's hyperspheres, the primary attack, on live. So he can still fire at the same range that, well, he could always fire at on live. They nerfed this by 2 meters on the PTR, I do believe. So yeah, that's an interesting change there, because Sigma, well, he's still going to have quite a lot of poke potential here. So what they've done, gravitic flux can now be interrupted before targets begin falling. So what this means is when you cast gravitic flux and you catch them in it and you pull them up into the air, when the targets are in the air getting ready to slam down into the ground, you can put Sigma to sleep. You can flashbang him. You can shield bash him with Brig, although that would actually be insane. If you could shield bash him in the sky, basically any way of interrupting him will now stop gravitic flux before it slams you down into the ground. So this makes him more vulnerable when he's using it, instead of him just floating around like he's a god going, I'm Sigma, and what is this equation, or whatever crap he spews out of his mouth, and then slamming you into the ground. Also, the impact slow duration has been reduced from 0.9 to 0.6 seconds. Yes, this is fine. I mean, this is just a 0.3 second nerf there. That's fine. I think gravitic flux did need looking at. So what this means is Sigma is more vulnerable when he uses his ultimate ability. So don't be sort of afraid of firing at him or trying to interrupt him, especially if you're playing Ana. Really try and put him to sleep now more than ever. Okay, accretion, explosion damage reduced from 60 to 40. This is a 20 damage reduction on accretion. This is, yeah, I mean, there's a nice combo with Sigma. He smashes you with a rock and then he primary fires you and you're basically dead, or you take a ton of damage. Now, it's not as effective, which I think is fine, because the main power of accretion is its knockdown ability. You could actually argue, does accretion need damage? Maybe it should only do like 10 damage or whatever. I don't know. Because is Sigma really a source of damage? No, he's an off tank, but actually he's a tank, a main tank, a barrier tank, an off tank, main tank, Diva defense matrix. What? Oh, this guy can do everything. That's what I'm trying to get at, guys, with Sigma. He's still pretty good. Will he be played all the time now? I don't know. I mean, gravitic flux, that nerf, whew, that's a pretty big nerf to Sigma, if I'm going to be honest. Accretion reduction in damage, again, yeah, he's just going to do less damage. But remember, interestingly, the range nerf is now not on the live servers that was on the PTR. So his damage output from his primary fire still going to be the same, still going to have the same range. He's still got that very sort of close to mid-range poke potential. Now, the last hero is Batiste, and Batiste has been nerfed quite heavily, and this is in line with a lot of nerfs that have been coming into the game in regards to reducing healing power. A lot of the healers have been nerfed, and this begs the question, what's the point of Mercy? Because Mercy now is not great when it comes to healing output, especially with heroes like Moira, Ana, Batiste. However, they've nerfed Batiste, and this is what they've done. Biotic Launcher, the primary fire, recovery time increased from 0.35 to 0.45 seconds. Right, so this is his primary fire, not his healing, his primary fire. This means he does less damage because he fires not as fast. I've shown this in a video. I'm not going to show you guys again in this video. You've probably seen it on the channel, but basically he fires less quick, which means that he's going to do less damage when he's just spamming shots out, because he doesn't fire as fast. There's more recovery time between bursts. Finally, though, Biotic Launcher, which is the secondary fire of this of his weapon, the heal explosion reduced from 60 to 50. Now that is actually a pretty big nerf. Now, there's a lot of issues with this, or well, not issues, but like people predicting what's going to happen with the support meta. Will Moira be a go-to pick now? Is Batiste going to provide enough healing? What about Mercy? Her healing is just like, what? It's in the drain compared to these other healers. I don't know. I think Batiste is still pretty good because he's got Immortality Field. Yes, that was nerfed recently, but it's still a good ability. And I think players have got clever with using Immortality Field so the drone doesn't get destroyed, so you get the maximum duration you can from the ability. The Biotic Launcher, this is sort of an ability that I look at and think, maybe this should have bonus healing if they hit you with the grenade, and less healing from AoE. Maybe that would make it too difficult to use, but then you'd get the reward of a skillful Batiste player, much like the way Ana is. You have to land the grenade and then pump heals in to get the massive burst healing. Whereas you look at a Moira doesn't have that. Moira just throws her orb and can spray. And Moira has a get out of jail card, which lets her fade away, and then re-engage back into the fight. Batiste has this sure with immortality field, and he can kind of jump away. But it's an interesting one. This is an interesting direction that they're sort of going in here with these changes to the supports. Now, what this means for the game in terms of meta predictions, well, I can give you sort of a hot take right now on the meta. Hanzo's not as effective, right? Which is fine. McCree, though, is he going to be this super godlike meta pick? Well, he's just got a slightly better Deadeye, so he's just going to kind of be the same as he was before. The big one here, though, is Orisa and Sigma are nerfed, so are we going to see less usage of these heroes? Batiste as well is heavily nerfed in terms of healing output. Now, I guess the last thing I really want to say in this video is, and I touched on this in the previous video, the idea of the meta and what it means to us as players. I can honestly say in a lot of the games I've played, I haven't really been seeing Orisa and Sigma get played, even before these nerfs have come out. It seems quite varied at the moment. It almost seems like the meta's in a pretty good place. But people often say, but Sty, the meta doesn't affect me. And yes, it's kind of true, but also it kind of isn't. The thing with the meta is it shows you who are the most effective heroes, which are the best heroes for getting a higher level of value compared to other heroes in the hero roster. And I think you could easily argue that if you did base your hero sort of selections on the meta, even at whatever level you play the game at, you could potentially have a better impact on the game, get more value, and thus could lead to more victories, which leads to more SR, which leads to going up in rank. But I think that's an entire debate we could probably have in another video. But there you go, guys. These are the changes that are now on the live servers. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, remember, subscribe to the channel, click the bell, and you will get alerted to when all the videos go live. You can join the awesome notification squad, and you can follow me on Twitter, which is @Stylosa, and it's also the same on Instagram. And I'll catch you guys on the next one.